Hello YouTube! Today in the Naughty Librarian, I am going over my July TBR list. So, my TBR list for July is quite tall. In fact, I'm leaning on it right now, so it's a very tall stack of books. But I got a lot of really cool things on deck I'm really excited about. A lot of books that I surprise hits that I found. I'm like, okay, let's read more from that author. And some surprises, another episode of Drunk Classics coming at you. Yeah, I kind of think I'm going to make Drunk Classics like a monthly thing. I've been having fun making them. It's a good time for me, and that's what matters. First things first, I have My Darling Duke by Stacey Reid. I actually read her Wicked Marquess in June and loved it intensely. And this is actually the prequel to this. This is the first book of that series. So as soon as I finished her Wicked Marquess, book 2, I went out and bought book 1 and I pre-ordered book 3. I am obsessed. This one kind of has a similar theme and setup to her Wicked Marquess. This time we're following Catherine. She is a wallflower, and there's that. And now her family is like on the brink of financial ruin, so she's like a desperate wallflower now. She's got to do something to ensure at least her sisters have good matches. So she's just like, oh, me? I'm engaged. I'm totally engaged to the Duke of Thornton. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you know that guy who hasn't been around for years? Yeah, I met him and we're engaged. He's like my fiance. So in starts this elaborate ruse where she just like says this and everyone ends up believing her. And then it gets like maybe out of control because now she's charging dresses on the Duke's account. And you know, of course the Duke is going to show up eventually and be like, what the fuck, lady? And of course they're gonna fall in love for real. But I love this concept. It kind of has a similar concept to Weir Wicked Marquess, and that was a 5-star read. Like, I was obsessed. So I'm so excited. Also on deck, I have Captives of the Night by Loretta Chase. In June, I read Lord of Scoundrels, and again, absolutely loved it. 5 stars, amazing book. So again, I went out and got the book that came before it. So we heard about these characters in Lord of Scoundrels, and I was really excited to hear about this story because, like, I feel like there's some shit that's gonna go down here. We're following Layla. She is kind of just trapped in this loveless marriage. We find out about Beaumont a lot in the other book, that he's kind of just a reprobate, just drugging and womanizing, a real piece of shit. And apparently, like, he winds up dead. And he has a lot of enemies all around town, like extortion schemes and like et cetera, and he dies at their estate right after he has this huge fight with his wife. So everyone's like, did the wife do it? But she didn't, you know, and then they have to have this big investigation, and in comes the Comte d'Esmond, and we heard about Esmond in the other book too, and he's there, and he's like a secret agent, and he's like investigating the murder, and of course, they have to team up, and then they're gonna do it. I heard about both these characters and the dickhole Beaumont in the other book, Lord of Scoundrels, so I was like, I want to know more about this. And it's like sexy French detective, and then like, you know, happy widow, I guess. She's not really sad this guy's dead. He was a piece of shit. But anyway, I am so excited. Like, I love that book so much. I want to read more in that series. Also on deck, I have The Chosen and the Beautiful by Niveau. This was sent to me lovingly by Tor.com Publishing. They sent me the arc of it. I hadn't read it yet, but it just came out for reals like recently, and I want to read it. It's kind of a reimagining, retelling of The Great Gatsby, but this time we're following Jordan Baker's perspective. So in this iteration, Jordan Baker is adopted, she is Asian, and in this time period, she's just kind of seen as this, like, exotic attraction, and she's like, you know, I got more stuff going on. I also have a killer golf handicap. And, you know, there's a whole socialite aspect, the whole, like, roaring 20s, and also magic. I think there's magic in this book, too, because, like, the blurb at least refers to, like, infernal pacts and, like, magical fire stuff. So I'm like, ooh, okay, you know what? Like, I'm not the hugest fan of The Great Gatsby. I've said it, okay? But, like, reimaginings of The Great Gatsby, especially this one, because this one's throwing magic into the equation, sound dope. I'm so excited to read this one. I don't know why I didn't read it before now. That's just how I live my life, I guess. But I'm excited to read it now. Also on deck, I have Neon Gods by Katie Robert. And, oh boy, like, I everywhere I look on like Instagram or Twitter, I constantly see this book. Everyone is reading it and like loving it. And apparently it's like a smutty Greek gods retelling of Hades and Persephone. And like the Hades Persephone myth is kind of fucked up, but like when you reimagine it in a better way where it's not like fucked up, like I get into it. So Persephone, her mother basically engages her to Zeus, and she's like, Zeus is a dick, I don't want to do that. So she runs away, winds up in the underworld, meets Hades, and Hades is like, what are you doing here? She's like hiding, and he's like, okay, and then they just do it. That's kind of like the punchline to a lot of the books I have on my like TBR. They're gonna do it. But again, I've heard nothing but amazingly, smuttily delightful things about this book. So really, I'm just here for the penetration. Like, I just want to see, like, how smutty is it? Because I have heard that this is very steamy. So I will be the judge of that. But yeah, it's like a modern day Hades Persephone retelling, but I think they're actually the Greek gods. I'm not sure if like they're just like named this and they're normal people or they're the actual Greek gods. I'm not 100% sure, but like, I'm gonna read and find out. I'm also going to be reading One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Casey McQuiston wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I absolutely adored. I found it like a delightful rom-com. So I definitely want to read what's next from this author. So this one is following August and Jane. August is kind of, you know, cynical 20-something in the big city. And every day, like the best part of her day is like her subway crush. So like she sees this woman, Jane, on the subway all the time. And she's like, oh, Jane's like super hot. And it turns out Jane is actually from the past. She's like from the like a punk from the 70s, and like I don't really know how this like time travel doodad works, but like I want to find out. I have some nerves about it because like I don't like time travel. I've said that in multiple videos. It's just stupid, and the only time I like time travel is when they're trying to make it stupid. Like Back to the Future, I love that movie because they're like, yeah, this is stupid, right? I think if they're just kind of like, you know, self-aware and they're kind of poking fun at time travel and it's also like a really cute rom-com, like I could get really into this. If they try to go too sci-fi with their time travel bullshit, like I'm just gonna like lose it and I'm gonna not like it. But fingers crossed this is fun because the other book was so delightful. Also on deck, I have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, and this was a pre-order. Oh my goodness, like again, like kind of like Neon Gods, everywhere I went on Twitter and Instagram, I kept seeing this book everywhere. So I pre-ordered it. I'm like, it sounds dope, it looks dope, this cover's gorgeous, I'm pre-ordering it. I think it's kind of like, has a Little Red Riding Hood vibe, but basically the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. In this world, I guess if you have two daughters in line for the throne, the first one gets it, and the second one they just leave in the woods. But Red, the second daughter, is kind of okay with going into the woods. She apparently has like this power she doesn't really know how to control. So she's like, being in the woods and away from people is probably like the best idea for me right now. And then she's like, oh yeah, but there's like a wolf out there, so I ought to deal with that shit. And it turns out the wolf is a dude. So I'm thinking this is gonna be fantasy romance, maybe? I don't really know if he's like a wolf man, a man wolf. I'm not sure if he like turns into a wolf at any point or if he's just like some dude in the forest that they call a wolf. I will find out when I read this, but I'm thinking it's gonna be fantasy romance. This cover is gorgeous. It's a pre-order. I just like the whole concept behind this. So I'm just really excited. I'm hoping this pre-order doesn't let me down because a lot of my pre-orders have been letting me down lately. Also on deck, I have the book of the month for the Blades and Bodice Rippers book club, which is Year One by Nora Roberts. This is going to be over on Mara's channel. That's Books Like Whoa on the last Saturday of July, which is actually July 31st, so the very last day. You have plenty of time to read this if you want to come join in. And this one has been on my shelf for quite some time. I love the cover, I love the concept, but I've actually never read something by Nora Roberts. I know, I'm also ashamed of myself. It's weird that I haven't because Nora Roberts is like an OG and I still haven't read anything by her, but this is gonna be my first, but I think it might be a blessing because like I don't have anything to compare it to. So if I'm going in blind, you know what I mean? So without getting into too much of this, it's basically a post-apocalyptic world due to a plague. So I feel it's very timely to be reading it now in 2021, but it's basically, I guess there was this like sickness that went around and like everybody got sick, like it decimated the world population, and then like, you know, when the population gets decimated, everything else fails. Infrastructure, power, government, it's all gone. It's just chaos all the time. And also, now there's magic for real. I don't know if this play has magical origins at all, but like now there's witches and stuff. And I guess the plague is still going on, but some people are immune to it. So I don't really know exactly what I'm getting into. I know it's post-apocalyptic plague based and there's witches. So really that's all you have to tell me and I'd be interested in it. And Nora Roberts wrote it, so I'm like, I trust Nora Roberts to write a good book because she's like written a ton of books at this point. I think she knows her way around a book at this point. Please join us for the live show. Again, it's going to be on Mara's channel on July 31st at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Come hang out. It's going to be a good time. I will also be doing a new episode of Drunk Classics, and I have Emma by Jane Austen. I have this super old edition of it. I think it's from the 60s, and I got it randomly at a library book sale like a long time ago, but it's such a pretty edition. So this was printed in 1964, so it's a vintage book, and it also has like all of these illustrations, which is really fun. So like all throughout the book, they have like these full color illustrations. So yeah, here's my book from 1964, Emma. Considering this book is almost 60 years old, it's in immaculate condition. Like, oh my goodness, it's so like well preserved and has all these pretty pictures, and it's Emma. I am like full on a Jane Austen kick for Drunk Classics. I've been having a good time. I loved Pride and Prejudice. Sense and Sensibility, not as much, but I'm hoping Emma will serve me right, because you know what? There's a lot of adaptations to Emma. I feel like it's going to be fun. I know it's kind of like matchmaking and it goes poorly. So I love it. I'm just really excited to like get drunk and read this. There you go. I'm also going to read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And in case you don't know, Andy Weir actually wrote The Martian, which I adore. It's one of my faves. So pretty much anything Andy Weir writes, I'm going to buy and probably enjoy. This one we're following this astronaut named Ryland. Ryland wakes up on this spaceship alone and with dead bodies next to him. So he's like, oh, some shit has gone down here. And apparently this whole thing was like this last ditch effort to save the human race. And it would be great if Ryland remembered anything about that. He wakes up with full amnesia, doesn't remember how he got there, why he's here. Like he kind of knows why he's there. He's like, well, I'm on a spaceship and I've got to like do something to save humanity. No other facts. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be like delightfully sarcastic. Also, you know, epic space adventure. I'm pretty sure Ryland is just going to be, he's going to be like Mark Watney from The Martian. He's just going to be sarcastic and delightful to read. So I'm excited. Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a fun space romp. Last up on deck, I have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is a complete auto-buy author for me. I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. If you haven't read it, pick it up. It will destroy your soul in the best possible way. This one is her newest book, and it takes place in the 80s, all over the course of like one day and night at this epic party. We're following the Riva siblings. There's like a bunch of siblings, and they all have this Malibu beach house, and every year they throw like the end of summer party that's like insane. It's the party. And you know, this one is something's gonna go differently. Like apparently there's gonna be like a lot of truths that come to light, and it says in the blurb that the house is on fire by morning, so like something happens here. I don't really need to know anything about what this book is about. I was going to buy it and read it. Taylor Jenkins Reid is an incredible author, so I'm excited. Alright, so that does it for July. I have a lot of really cool things on deck I'm excited for. A lot of things I've just read the author before and I want to read more by that author, so I'm continuing on that path. Also, I'm reading Emma for Drunk Classics. That's going to be really fun. And that book is from 1964. It's gorgeous. And of course, there's going to be the live show for the Blades and Bodice Rippers book club, which is year 1 by Nora Roberts. So it's going to be a fun July. Like, I'm feeling good about it. Like, some of the books have really nice summery vibes, and I'm excited. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you have on deck for July? Do you have anything that you're like really pumped about? If so, leave it in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Oh, bye.